Hi, this is Terry. Welcome back to my channel. We're recording this on day 60 of sheltering in place. And
gross. I don't like it.
I don't either. And you know what? I feel yucky. My bra doesn't fit. My clothes aren't fitting. I feel like I'm crawling out of my skin. Maybe it's hormones. Maybe it's being stuck inside and choosing not to go out. I don't know, or it's a combination of all of these things. I've actually had 2 migraines this week. Fortunately, I don't get the pain. I just get the blurry vision for about 20 minutes, but it leaves me a bit disoriented for a bit. And then, so today I was like, screw it. I'm making today a creative day. So I wrote a blog post. I took a long bath. I'm recording this, and I think I might write one more blog post. The one I wrote earlier was on 10 power anthems for women over 40, so that was fun. The next one is going to be me putting up my dukes and fighting with some folks who think that the Apple Google contact tracing is the answer to everything, and it's not. It doesn't take a lot of things into account, and so I will be putting up my dukes and writing maybe a blog post on that. But in the meantime, if you are sheltering in place, I just want to say cheers. I'm enjoying a lovely gin gimlet that my friend and neighbor Jessica put out on Food Foundation.
Link in description.
As a link in description as a healthier cocktail option. This is the second one. The last one was a tequila sunrise, which had lots of vitamin C in it. And this one, apparently there are anti-inflammatory properties with St Germaine, which is one of the things I absolutely love. So there's gin, there's St Germaine, there's some Pellegrino, so sparkling water, and lime juice. And then I didn't have cucumber, so I threw in some blueberries, so I will get some antioxidants in the blueberries. I'm sure this is not what Jessica, as a nutritional therapist, would really want for all of us, but this is as good as it's going to get right now. So speaking of which, I'm not venturing out much, as I've talked about before, and I'm very privileged to not have to go out. Ray's at least been going out on walks. Zeke and I, on Wednesday night, which we call Whiskey Wednesdays, walked over to our friend Jessica and Noah's house, and we sat in their backyard, and we have agreed to have them be part of our Quaran-Team. I'm sure that you're starting to hear a little bit more about this as we open up a little bit, at least here in our area, and expanding to allow other trusted families into our bubble. And I was a little nervous about this. We had talked about, if anyone starts to feel unwell, and I'm like, drawbridge up. But we didn't lay out like all the ground rules around this. And I've seen a couple of articles that talk about the best way to set up for success. And I actually used the bathroom in their house. This is the first time in 60 days that I have, maybe 61 days, where I have ventured into somebody else's house. And it was a little weird, and I don't like that something that used to be so normal is now so uncomfortable and so fraught with danger. I mean, it's just not something that we would think about, but this is where we are. And initially I thought of this as kind of a daisy. So we're in the middle, and as you bring other people in, you're adding petals. And so with Adam working at the grocery store, we have a massive petal structure. With Sophie babysitting, we've got a petal with a little bit of a structure. And now with kind of adding Jessica and her family into it, I see it more as a chrysanthemum, because we add these petals, and then they have petals, and they have petals. And so it's not...
That's what chrysanthemums look like, definitely.
What am I thinking of? Dahlias. Maybe it's a dahlia that I'm thinking of, but something that has just a much broader petal structure than a simple daisy. And as we're opening up a little bit, we're having conversations, and it's hard. At the same time, I know that we need to open up, and we need to be exposing ourselves in very cautious manners. Fortunately, I've scheduled a tennis lesson for next week, because if you've been following anything, the apparently, what is it, the golf courses, the tennis resorts, the tennis clubs, apparently yachts, I mean, certain things that are opening up, if you take a look at it, they're really kind of wealthy, privileged things, not necessarily for everybody, which I kind of take issue with, because I'd like to, somebody posed the question, what if we ask those people who are most impacted by this what they need and address those things first? Why don't we do that? But we also know that due to cronyism and money, it's going to be those people first, and not necessarily the ones that we would better serve by asking what it is that they want. But I will be venturing to a tennis court where the club has made all sorts of rules about who can go, how it's going to work. And so what's great is I get to hit and sit. So rather than picking up tennis balls, the tennis pro will go ahead and do that. And I was like, okay, I'm bringing wipes and I'm bringing sanitizer and I'll have everything wiped down. And he's like, I have that too. You know, don't worry about it. But there's part of me that's a little nervous about venturing out, but I am desperate for physical activity. Desperate. The yoga's not cutting it. I don't feel good, and I need to get my body moving, and I know that tennis is the best way for me to do it. So I'm very thankful that the courts are going to be open to do that in a very restricted way. It'll be good to get out into the sunshine, get some activity, and remind myself that I can do something outside of our walls. What do you think, Ray?
Yeah, I've been really liking going on walks. I've been walking a lot further out than I usually do, just because it's nice to get a change of scenery. So.
Now, are you afraid at all when you go out?
Not afraid, just cautious.
Are you afraid of bumping into people?
No, because I'm always aware of where people are.
Got it.
So, like, if someone is, like, walking on the sidewalk towards me, then if they, like, usually I'm the one who goes into the street, but it's like, if they make a move to go in the street, I'm not going to go in the street, too, because then we would bump into each other there.
Well, and this is one thing that I was talking about the other night. So we were sitting out back and with Jessica and Noah, and then their other neighbors came over and were sitting, 6 feet away from us. And they go nowhere. So I mean, really, we're the risky ones.
We're definitely the risky
ones. And we were chatting, and I was talking about how I'm afraid to go out. I'm afraid to interact with other people. And I was talking to a friend of mine that with masks. So I think my hearing's been going for a couple of years, so I really focus on people's lips. And it's like, oh crap, if I can't read what people are saying to some extent, how is that going to impact my ability to hear what's going on? I can't see expressions, can't see when someone's like taking a breath to know when to have like good communication back and forth. And then also the logistics of, and the etiquette about being out. I'm nervous about all of that. I have a dental appointment scheduled on, I think it's like June 6th. And Carliza and it's Carliza Marcos with Marcos and Marcos, and they put out on Facebook, it's like, when you have an appointment starting June 1st, here's what the protocol is going to be. And it's like, oh crap, what if I screw up? I'm such a rule follower that I don't want to screw up, because there are really life and death consequences on this. And I didn't also like the fact that I'm going to have to swish my mouth with peroxide before they can even work. You're going to have to do this, Ray, before I do. So, oh good, Ray's going to get to be my guinea pig. Because you're going to go on the Monday, and then I'm going to go on the Saturday for my cleaning and checkup.
I didn't realize this was happening.
Yeah, so there's like this whole protocol, and it's like, it's daunting. It's daunting to be thinking about all of these things. Now, the good news is that everybody in our areas is fairly respectful of the sheltering in place and what's going on, and I'm hoping that people will be accommodating and friendly, and when I do decide to go out, that my fear will be unfounded. But we were also talking about how the social norms have changed. You know, we're not going to be shaking hands. We're not going to be giving hugs. You know, some of the stuff that we were used to doing, we are no longer going to be able to do. So how are we going to, you know, connect with people on levels that we used to, and now we're having to create like new ways to do it, at least, you know, for an unforeseen period of time. And, you know, this gets me thinking about, we know things are changing, but how do we kind of hold the line and say, okay, this is a temporary thing, so we don't have to change the way we are socially. We don't have to have these fears forever. It's a temporary thing versus this is now how it is. And it's a lot to take on. I'll go into this in probably a next one after I've done a little bit more research about kids going back to school. And one of the reasons why I'm going to put my dukes up in this blog post is that, you know, tech can't solve everything. And there are some people who are advocating that the Google, Apple contact tracing is the answer. But it doesn't take into account not everybody has phones. It doesn't take into account not everybody is going to opt in for this. And also, what happens if you opt in and then you get notified that you were within a period, you know, you potentially were exposed to somebody who had COVID-19, then you go quarantine for 14 days. And then let's say you go out again and you get notified again, you go quarantine for 14 days. I think people might be willing to do it one time, but if they're constantly getting notified, the reaction is going to be, over time, people are going to become desensitized to it and go, well, it's out there. I'm not going to quarantine for 14 days every time that I am in the general proximity of somebody and I could possibly be exposed to it without a guarantee that I'm actually going to get it. And then what about those people who can't afford to quarantine for 14 days because they can't afford to, versus let alone more than once. And so I think there are a lot of things that are not being taken into account. And as usual, tech folks who think that tech is the answer, they're not taking into account really the personal and the social impact and the economic impact. Might be good for some who have resources, who have big enough houses, who don't have kids. And then for others who don't necessarily have those luxuries. And so anyway, starting to formulate my thoughts for what will ultimately be a little risky but combative blog post to kind of share my thoughts on this. But the last episode was pretty hefty with everything around clinical trials, and I didn't want this one to be super long and super heavy. So what do you think? Anything? Ray?
No, we're chilling.
Yeah, you've got 2 more weeks of school, and I'm trying to help. So yeah, you're done. And I'm actually trying to help you, since you've gone credit, no credit in your school, is to find out what the minimum is you have to do, because you've been such a trooper, but you're done. Adam and Sophie are done with school, so they're done. So whatever I can do to help you just kind of be done, I'm more than happy to write that parent note and say, Ray's been a trooper, we're done. And
yeah. I think I'll have to do 1 or 2 of my finals because they're just so heavily weighted that if I don't do the final, then I won't pass the class. Even though I've got all A's. Which is super duper frustrating.
Well, we're gonna have to look at the math on that because I'm not sure that I believe that, but we'll look at that over the weekend. So maybe that'll be the gift.
I've already emailed one of my teachers being like, "Hey, not doing the final. Peace out."
Yeah, peace out. Is that how you do that?
Peace out.
Peace out. I'll have to take a picture of that because that's a silly thumbnail. Anyway. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Appreciate any sort of comments and notes, and let me know how you're doing. If you're in our area and you're in sheltering in place on day 60, how are you doing? Is there anything I can do to help make this easier? Is there anything I should research and talk about? I'd be more than happy to take a look. Just let me know. If you are in places that are opening up, please stay safe. If you've
wash your hands.
Yeah, if you've been sick or getting sick or struggling with all of this, just, take care.
Snack of the day. Banana and almonds.
Yeah, I like banana. Eating a banana and then chomping on almonds and having the the texture contrast.
Also the entire, like, protein.
Oh, yeah, so the protein with the sugar, etc.
Thanks, Jessica. See, we're listening to what you said.
Occasionally.
I do it most of the time.
I ate breakfast this morning, and I had my supplements. I know.
I haven't
Anyway.
taken my supplements yet. Oof.
Well, they're in your room. Anyway. Take some risks, let go of perfection, and above all else, have some fun.
And eat some almonds.
If you're not allergic, I mean...
if you're allergic, then don't.
Cheers, drink a cocktail.
And wash your hands, too.